In a kingdom full of happiness and joy, the king and queen lived. They dreamed of only one thing, to have a child. When they had already lost all hope, their daughter was born. She was very sweet and beautiful. On this occasion, a great celebration was arranged, and many guests were invited to the palace, among whom were good sorceresses. They were given the warmest, most cordial welcome. But the king and queen made a big mistake. They forgot to invite another sorceress. She had not left her tower for many years, and everyone thought that she had died long ago. When the time came to give gifts to the princess, the fairies generously rewarded her with beauty, a kind heart, intelligence, a beautiful voice, the ability to dance and play various musical instruments. When the turn came to the last sorceress, an evil fairy, whom they forgot to invite to the holiday, unexpectedly entered the hall. Cutlery was immediately brought for her, but she felt that she was not received as respectfully as she should have. Pulling the goblet and plate away from her, she muttered a spell. The sorceress wished that on the day of her 16th birthday, the princess pricked her hand with a spindle, and from this she died. The queen wept bitterly at the wish of the evil sorceress, and the king ordered to seize the witch. But she had already disappeared with an ominous laugh. Fortunately, the last of the fairies has not yet had time to say her wish to the princess. She could not undo the spell, but promised that the girl would not die, but would only fall asleep deeply until she was awakened by the kiss of love. The king immediately ordered the destruction of all spindles in the kingdom. And then came the day of the princess's 16th birthday, the day that the evil fairy spoke about. The princess grew up to be a beautiful and kind girl. The king ordered 3 sorceresses to watch over her. Fairies guarded her like the apple of an eye. On this day, the king and queen locked the girl in a room to prevent a terrible event. But the princess did not want to be locked up. Suddenly, a door appeared in the wall of her room, which the girl had never seen. She heard strange sounds outside the door. Burning with curiosity, and not knowing what awaited her, the girl entered her. The door led into a dark room in which a woman was sitting with her back to the princess. She was spinning. The girl had never seen a spindle in her life. She became curious. The princess went to the spindle, touched it, pricked her finger and fell into a deep sleep. And that woman turned out to be an evil fairy who was very happy that her spell had come true. Now everyone called the princess Sleeping Beauty. Upon learning of the misfortune, the kind sorceress decided to put the king and queen and the whole kingdom to sleep until the girl awakens. Soon, such impenetrable thickets of trees and thorny bushes grew around the castle that no one could get through such a thicket. 100 years later, a handsome prince from another kingdom went hunting. Seeing from afar the towers of the abandoned castle, he remembered the old story about the Sleeping Beauty that his parents had told him. And the prince decided to get inside. He struggled to make his way through the impenetrable thickets of trees and thorny bushes. But in the end, the prince approached the gates of the abandoned castle. He walked around the entire castle, and looked into the throne room. There the prince saw the king and queen sleeping. Then, in one of the rooms, he noticed Sleeping Beauty. She was sleeping on a bed decorated with flowers. The prince went to the bed, looked at the beautiful princess, and felt love fill his heart. He could not restrain himself and kissed Sleeping Beauty. And at that moment, she opened her eyes and saw a handsome prince. The king and queen also woke up, as did the whole kingdom. They were overjoyed. And in honor of the bride and groom, the most beautiful wedding that the world has ever seen was arranged right there. Since then they have lived happily ever after.
Girl Mary lived in the Kansas steppe with her puppy Toto, Uncle Henry and Aunt Em. In these places, hurricanes were common, and the family now and then hid in the cellar from the raging elements. One such day, Uncle Henry noticed an impending storm. He opened the cellar hatch and then called Mary and Aunt to hide. At that moment, the frightened Toto jumped off Mary's arms and hid under the bed. When the girl finally caught the puppy, the wind howled and the little house shook. The house turned around its axis several times, and then began to slowly rise into the air, like a balloon. Soon the house landed, and he and Toto went out into the street. A green lawn with fruit trees spread around, and amazing flowers grew everywhere. This is how Mary ended up in the magical land of Oz. While admiring the wonders of nature, the girl did not notice how very strange people in hats approached her. They were adults, but no larger than little Mary. Chief among them was an old woman dressed all in white. She approached Mary and thanked her for helping the girl defeat the evil sorceress. Mary was very surprised. Then the old woman pointed to the house, from under which protruded feet in silver shoes. At that moment, the legs disintegrated into hundreds of small particles and disappeared, leaving only their shoes. Mary was even more frightened, because she really wanted to go home. But as it turned out, neither the old woman in white, nor other strange people in caps knew how to help the girl. They advised Mary to put on the silver shoes of the witch, go to the Emerald City, and find the powerful wizard Oz there. Only he could help Mary return home. There was one yellow brick road leading to the Emerald City. Mary set off along it. The first she met was a cornfield guarded by a scarecrow. Instead of a head, he had a pouch filled with straw, and his mouth and nose were painted with paint. The scarecrow turned out to be alive, and his name was Scarecrow. He told Mary that he also wants to get to the Wizard Oz to ask him for brains. The girl took pity on the scarecrow, helped him climb over the fence, and they hit the road. The yellow brick road led Mary and the scarecrow into the forest. Suddenly they heard someone moan. A human figure gleamed in the thicket of the forest. It was the Tin Woodman. Its parts were so rusted that he could not move an arm or a leg. Then, in a hut nearby, Mary found an oil can. She lubricated the woodman's parts, and he began to move again. It turned out that the woodcutter had long dreamed of getting to the Wizard Oz to get a real heart. So together they continued their journey to the Emerald City. A yellow brick trail led friends through a dense forest. Suddenly a lion jumped out of the thicket onto the road. As soon as he swung his paws at the scarecrow, he heard Toto barking and was very frightened. The lion told Mary that he was born shy and therefore does not mind going to the Wizard Oz and asking for real courage. When the friends finally reached the Emerald City, the Great Oz agreed to fulfill their wishes, but set one condition. He asked to kill the Wicked Witch of the West. And my friends had to agree. Under cover of the night, Mary, the scarecrow, the lion, and the woodcutter made their way to the Witch of the West. She was waiting for them, and therefore sent flying monkeys to the friends. They threw the Tin Woodman off the cliff, poured all the straw out of the scarecrow, and captured Mary and Leo. When Mary was brought to the Witch of the West, driven to despair, she poured water on the witch. To the girl's surprise, the old woman began to melt, and soon only a muddy puddle remained of her. When the friends returned to the Emerald City and demanded that the wizard fulfill their wishes, it turned out that Oz was not a wizard at all, but a real deceiver. However, he tried to fulfill the requests of his friends. So, Oz stuffed the scarecrow's head with sawdust, from which he experienced a surge of wisdom. I inserted a scarlet silk heart into the Tin Woodman's chest. And he gave the cowardly lion a potion to drink, which made the king of beasts feel brave. Seeing Mary's silver shoes, Oz laughed. After all, the shoes were magic, and all this time they could carry the girl home. Mary said goodbye to her new friends, tapped her heel 3 times, and ended up at home with Toto. But the silver shoes were lost on the road.